Welcome to the Cups of Consciousness podcast with me, Aleya Dow. And today, Rosalie is my guest, and it is such a joy and an honor to meet her, connect with her, and dive into her journey. Rosalie, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
So great to have you. And Rosalie specializes in quantum alchemical therapy and trauma transformation. She is a nurse practitioner, a spiritual leader, an author, a speaker, and a breathwork facilitator. She uses the zebra alchemy transformation method in her work, assisting people in transforming their deepest trauma, addressing the deepest root. Rosalie, I would love to have you share with our listeners a little bit about your journey and how it began.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So as you mentioned, I'm a nurse practitioner. Just to cut to the chase, I got to a point in my career in 2018 where I have achieved a certain, I guess, level of my career, and top of my salary and just in a good place, I guess, financially and career wise. And I was very deeply dissatisfied, personally, emotionally, spiritually, very empty. And I just kind of spiraled down into very deep, deep depression to a point where I felt suicidal. I didn't want to get up in the morning. I had no reason to get up in the morning. And even though I had all these blessings, I was still very empty. Um, and it's very interesting because I was originally born and raised in Cuba, where I come from a very, very poor family, poor to the point where it is lack of food and resources, that kind of poor. Um, and I never
Most people
felt these
can't even
feelings.
conceive of.
Yeah, so yeah, of course, naturally for me, I developed this overachiever, type of mindset and kind of personality for the lack of resources, of course, I had growing up. And even though I was able to transcend that, it's interesting how when I was experiencing that situation, I was, pretty much happy and just content and all these things. So it's very weirdly and odd how when I had all the success I was looking for, I was very empty. It was type of an awakening for me, spiritually wise, kind of like my dark night of the soul type of thing. And then naturally I started, well, I have kids, so I can't really give up on life or commit suicide. But it got to the point where it felt very daunting to
Mhm.
to be alive because I didn't see any purpose because I lost complete identity of, you know, of purpose behind the
Right,
why,
right.
right?
It's like you were struggling for so long. And then when the struggle was taken away, who are you?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I laugh now, but it was not
It
funny
was
then.
intense. No, no.
Yeah.
Well, because it challenges our sense of identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And how you're
absolutely.
fulfilled.
So, everything crumbled in my life. I got a divorce, sold my business. It was just a spiral down. Like I just completely everything dismantled. Um, and of course, now naturally looking back at it, I'm extremely grateful for that, and we'll circle back around to that. But that got me to looking for God outside myself everywhere I could, right? Or I didn't really know what I was looking for, but for something outside of
Mhm.
myself, like some sort of answer or clarity. I started diving deep into all sorts of energy work, different religions, inner work, breath work, somatics, just anything I could find relief or answers or
Mhm.
anything that would help me. And I'm extremely grateful to each of those tools. Everything has kind of been mounting on top of the other tools to help me get through different things, therapy, all these things. And coming from I guess a Western, more research science-based background, I knew for sure I didn't want to go into antidepressives or anything like that. Personally, I'm not discouraging anyone from trying those. If it helps and you're in a time of need, please consult with your medical provider. But for me, that was not the route I wanted to go. I wanted to find other tools.
Right.
And pretty much all of that helped me. I worked with plant medicine a lot through this work, and I'm extremely grateful for that as well. Definitely shifted a lot of my perception, but somehow I still had this emptiness that I couldn't fill with anything. It's very strange feeling. And I was just like, I don't want to say I didn't give up on life, but I was just kind of devastated. I was like,
Like
really?
despair.
yeah, like this is all there is, like
Uh-huh.
to life.
Right.
If there's a God, there's just gotta be more to this. This doesn't make any sense, right? Ah, and I said, I said, God, help me find a way and something like, where are you, Um, and I didn't get any answers for a while. It was like no prayers were answered. And then in 2022, I had a near-death experience while I was camping in California. That was extremely scary for me, because it was not rainbows and unicorns. Uh, is it okay if I
Yeah, I
dive
was
a
like,
little bit
are you open to sharing what happened for
into,
you? Yeah.
yeah, I'll share a little bit. I was camping and I remember feeling extreme temperature changes in my body, but very, very extreme, like extreme cold that it felt like cold to the bone, and extreme sweat where I was feeling like I was burning. And next thing I feel or I become aware of is I'm outside of the place where I was. And I start looking around and extremely confused. I first think it's a dream. I don't think anything of it. And then I start to see all sorts of sacred geometry around the place, like electromagnetic field. Like, well, that's weird, you know.
Mhm.
And there's a moment where I remember I go to touch my body and the body's not there. Now I'm really freaking out. And I'm like, okay, there's something wrong, deeply wrong here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh no, 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 no. Where's my body? Like, okay. And then there was a thought. I had a thought. Oh my God, did I die? Like, I don't know. It popped into my
Mhm, mhm,
consciousness.
mhm.
The moment I had the thought, I was kind of pulled into this vacuum that I couldn't get out of, into this void, this darkness. It was the darkest pitch black thing that I've ever seen. There was no stars, there was no light, there was nothing except darkness. So I was very scared. It felt very lonely, very scary. No one else was there
Totally
and
disconnected.
very disconnected.
Yeah.
And I started playing out scenarios, I guess, in my consciousness or in whatever that was, where all my guilt, all my fears, all of these, it was, I call them self-made hell loops because I couldn't get out of the repetitive things of like,
Mhm.
I felt guilty for hurting other people or for doing this, and I could have done it better, and I could have been a better wife or mother or
Or like all
my
just all the
mom,
failure,
all the
right? Just yeah.
failure or parent failures, all of,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So and all these fears of different things that I had within me. And then I just wanted to get out, and I would get out of one and go into another and repeat kind of the same loops. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
How do I get out of here?
Uh-huh.
This is not what I want. And there was a point where I just felt like I was fighting nothing. It feels
Interesting.
weird, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was fighting
But
myself
but
or
the thing that's most intriguing is that when you're in that darkness and you're in the loop, there was some part of you still searching for a way out.
yeah,
And
100%.
that is fascinating because most people get in the loop and they're not even looking for a way out. So there was this little crack in that seam, right, of the darkness of this other part of you going, there is a way.
Yeah, well, I would have gone insane if there wasn't. I don't know. I was it's very scary.
Yeah,
If anybody has ever gone through that. For I guess the little human tiny person, obviously not the soul, but
right.
us in this incarnation, it feels extremely terrifying
Oh, absolutely.
for me anyway. And there was a point where I gave up. I felt very tired, like just I would say physically, but I didn't have a body, so I was just tired
Like a soul
of
weariness.
of fighting nothing because I couldn't even see what I was fighting.
Wow.
Like, what is this?
Right.
So I started to um call for help for God. God, if you really, and 1 second before I go into that, I remember thinking I was originally raised Catholic. And even though I've gone through different religions and atheists and all these things, I remember it's like, I thought I was a good person and I'm in hell or I'm in, this
Mhm.
place. Like, why am I not in heaven? You know? And then, but anyway, yeah, I got so tired of all these things and nothing happened, no answer, nothing. And then I just started praying, like really bad and scary, like, please get me out of here.
Mhm.
Um, and then I was taken at some point. It took a while. There's no time or space. I can't tell you
Right.
nothing about that, like how long, nothing. And I was taken into kind of, I call it inside the earth, but then again, I cannot tell you if that's true.
Mhm. Mhm.
It feels like an inside of a sphere.
Mhm.
And then there, um, I felt oneness with everything, like just expansive, very expansive.
Mhm.
Like I had no mm, boundaries, I guess you would say. Um, and I was just it felt a lot lighter. I was not as scared. So that I felt like, okay, that's got to be better, you know? Um, and I was very curious because I could still see an electromagnetic field all around the place. So I was more of a kind of wonder at that moment.
Mhm.
And then God came forward, or a form of God, because, and
Like
I want to
a
point this
present.
into a parentheses
Yeah.
because of course, my understanding of God now has changed, and we can talk about that
Mhm.
after the recount of that. But a form of God came forward for me in a way that it would let me know and feel safe and identify God as that form.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, when they watch these things, they're like, oh, that's not the God, or that's not the one universal true
E-
God for them. And that's beautiful.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
And as we evolve, our perception of God, the divine, changes,
Yes.
right? As we evolve, our perception changes with everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But some people, have,
Right. They
yeah,
get entrenched into their beliefs because they reference their identity on their beliefs, and then changing the belief is literally a threat on their identity.
correct. I'm familiar with that. I get it, believe
Mhm.
me.
Mhm. Mhm.
I've been there. So yes, this form of God came forward for me. Okay, as a male figure and it kind of like middle to late 60s, I wouldn't be able to tell you, white short beard. And it's this inner knowing that it was God. Like nobody had to tell you that it was. Your
Right.
soul just knew. But instead of being happy after being taken out of this place of darkness and seeing God, I don't know what got into me. I started cursing at God in Spanish. Really, really bad. Like the worst cursing I've ever done to anyone. And because I know, yeah, I wouldn't do it like that again if it happens. But yeah. So I was just blaming God for everything naturally. I was just like, well, you had me there and you did this to me and now my family and I can't be with them and you allow people to like, kids to die and cancer and chaos and war and like if you're really God, why do you allow that? Like and all these existential big questions I had. Um God had a little bit of a smile, semi-smile, like this. I couldn't see his teeth, nothing. Wasn't moved by a thing I said at all. No reaction, no judgment, nothing. And
Certainly
then that
didn't
got
take
me
it
mad.
personally.
No, oh, nothing. And there's a point, I don't know when it happened. God placed his hand on my shoulder right here. That's it. The greatest love, bliss, unity, oneness. There's no human experience, me personally, that I've experienced that it comes into comparison to something like that. Nothing. Um, and at that point, I had all my questions answered. It was just like an all knowing that everything was okay. There's nothing, it's okay. Like there's nothing to worry. Everything made sense. No more questions. I couldn't argue, articulate nothing. I don't know how I explain that. I don't have the answers. I couldn't bring them back. I don't know. All I know is I don't know anything. But it was beautiful. I
Except you've
felt
had a
home.
reference point for, and again, this is very rare because most people come into this world and they forget everything and then they remember when they go back over on the other side. But you have a reference point for that profoundly connected state.
Yes, I guess we could put it up that.
Hmm.
Um, it's just this beautiful knowing that it all will be okay. Um, and then very interesting stuff started happening after that. I was shown in front of me like a hologram. Um, what I could, I don't know if they're past lives, parallel lives. I can't,
Hmm.
I didn't have that distinction because it felt like all happening simultaneously, like no past, present, or future.
Hmm.
But it was this kind of hologram in front of me that kept shifting and changing, and I could feel it, that it was me
Hmm.
in different, like male, female, from all the different continents, religions. Um, and I could feel at an experiential level, what the lesson for that lifetime was, or what it's really very weird to explain.
No, 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 I totally get it. Yeah.
But then it kept shifting, and I kept feeling like, oh, okay, like, and it really impacted me of some of the things I had done. They were very like if another version of me would have judged and would have said, "Oh no, I would never do that." But yes,
Hmm.
yes, I have, unfortunately. So it was very humbling, like slaps across the face, like, "Oh yeah, hold my here, hold this cup. You've done it too." Right?
Uh-huh.
So it was very extremely humbling for me, especially with the male lifetimes I've had because
Hmm.
um my relationship with my dad has been a work in progress. So there's a lot of judgment towards like male figure and, how they treat women and some of the stuff that they do. Um,
Right. Abuse of power,
right.
patriarchy.
Yes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes. Mhm. So of course I was naturally like very resentful towards a male, and then being shown that was like, wow. I mean, we do the best we can with the consciousness we have. Like literally, I mean, wow.
That should be a bumper sticker. We do the best we can with the consciousness we have.
Thanks. We really do. And well, then at some point, I was taken to a life review, but this life review started from before incarnating. I could see myself choosing my parents, the place of birth, and just different things. And
Certain
I thought
relationships, certain interests, right?
that was very interesting. And what helped me a lot is there was a point where I was sitting in a circle with all of the soul family on my dad's side only. And I didn't see my mom. I didn't see any other aunts, just my dad's side and all the men, interestingly. I didn't see the women. But of course, that's probably what I needed, to go through all these
Yeah.
stuff. And I could see how they were going to be teaching me certain lessons, exactly how they've happened, no change, like not me wanting to change my dad or wanting me to change the situation. Um, and that was also extremely just like, are you serious? Like, wow.
Like you hired them.
Like, thank you, which is weird. Like, I would have never
Mhm.
been able to see it like, I mean, ever. It
Right.
was impossible.
Incredibly empowering. It was like you took responsibility for everything that has transcended in your life by having that perspective.
Yeah, that is, and it's very interesting. I want to bring light to this because when you share these perspectives, it's very difficult for someone, for a listener who has not experienced something similar,
True.
to understand what you're sharing. And there's a lot of judgment. That's fine. That's beautiful. I get it. But these are whether it's your relationship to God or your relationship to your other relationships or to life. Um, it's very personal journey of
Mhm.
your soul, of your humanity. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's. We come on here and we share this. Maybe there's a word or there's a phrase or there's something that empowers somebody or prevents somebody from committing suicide or leads somebody to find help or something. Take what's in it for you. Don't, you don't have to. At this point, when we share these things, is not to seek outside validation, is to share love, unity, oneness, like to come together as a humanity. Um, I mean, wouldn't we want a better world? Maybe, I don't know if we're going to make it so much for ourselves, but it starts with each one of us. Maybe the kind of world that we want to leave for our kids, for our grandkids, right? It's not when your consciousness shifts, you come more into a consciousness of being of service, and you look more at the whole, and you kind of like you understand that everything is interwoven, right? So it's just a shift in perspective and perception of life. Either way, take what resonates and serves, and don't be so focused on what doesn't. Um, and I was just extremely humble and grateful. And I understood at some point that I was here to be of service. I wasn't giving any, or maybe I was, but I don't remember any blueprint or information as to, okay, this is step one or step two. This is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to do it. None of that. Nothing. It was just this knowingness of overall oneness and connection and being of service and trusting and
Mhm.
faith and
Mhm.
pretty much I guess those are the key points. And it was extremely hard for my psyche and consciousness to integrate it after when I came back
Well, yeah, because you'd
because,
had your history of RN, and so there was like this
oh
very
yeah, no.
linear framework, and then
Mm.
to have that experience, it's like this huge paradigm shift.
For me, I mean, there's some people who's been doing this, kind of like spiritual work, I guess you would call it. And it's a lot, I feel like it might be easier if you have some sort of background to that. But I mean, everything on my end was either research based or religious based. And
Right.
like there's no count for a reference point for anything like similar to this.
Yeah.
I didn't have friends who had had near death or anything like that. I wasn't,
Or a conscious multidimensional experience, right? Like,
or yeah,
or absolute state of oneness and bliss, or absolute terror,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Nothing like that. Because some people have friends or community
Yeah.
or stuff like that that maybe you're already within that,
Right.
community that can help. So when I came back, I naturally reached out to all of the people that I knew that were maybe, had more experience than I did, like medicine, shamans,
Mhm.
Akashic record teachers, psychologists, psychiatrists, like all of these, because I was like, okay,
What just happened?
yeah, and then what do I do now? Like
Yeah, I
what
mean,
is this?
at a deep soul level knew the experience, right, of that incredible oneness, but then how do you integrate that into your life? What do you do with that? How do you utilize that as a skill set to support you and be of service in your life?
Yeah, so I was, yeah, I think I'm still processing because now I see in retrospect how little synchronicities have come into place and people and places and opportunities and things and downloads and information and my third eye and my other gifts and stuff. I'm like, ah, okay, it's making a little bit more sense now. Like, I get it. I see where we're kind of shifting and going. So there's definitely a lot more trust for our plan here, and kind of how trusting the unknown, the great mystery to unfold every day.
Mhm.
Like on a personal note, I just got off a call with one of my coaches. I have several that we were working on being more in that flow state, that creative state, that more of a feminine type of because I've been working so much on my, I guess, masculine do hyperachiever type of
Right.
personality. And now I have this other portion where is like intuition, art, creativity. And now, just now, after all this time has passed, is when I'm starting to incorporate and allow myself to be more playful, more joyful, tap into art, allow that consciousness to flow through me to create from a different space.
Beautiful.
So it's a very interesting journey that I have no clue where it's going. I don't know anything in comparison to all that is like a tiny 0.00001%
Like a
of
dot.
infinity of
Uh-huh.
the perception I have of anything.
Yeah.
So it's
Which
like,
creates this like incredible curiosity, mystery. Nothing is ever boring, constant learning.
yes.
But there was something that you said that's really interesting of tapping now into this like play and flow and the creative, the artist, the crafter, and Play is one of the most powerful mechanisms that allow for integration. So when we receive, some people call them energetic downloads, enlightenment experiences, huge ahas, most of the time we don't talk about the importance of integration. It would be like eating this beautiful meal and you just chew it, but you never swallow. And you never allow for it to come into the gut, come into the intestines. We never allow for the absorption of the nutrients. So then we never get boosted by the energy. We're just in the mouth experience. And so by diving into the play, now you're actually taking that experience that you had and allowing for this profound absorption of these vibrational nutrients.
I've never heard it being described this way. And I feel this is almost like a coaching call for me. This is great because I'm like,
Same, same.
aha, okay, cool. So that's maybe why I'm tapping into this now. Okay, nice. Good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
so great.
and lately, and a lot of the downloads I've been getting has been a lot of work with DNA changes,
Mhm.
which is very interesting. And I'm learning about that from, I guess, spirit source, my guides and stuff. Like, oh, okay, we can also make those changes within ourselves. Very
Absolutely.
interesting. So I'm just
Absolutely.
like an aha with this whole process, just learning baby steps as I go.
Beautiful. Well, and also too, I mean, there's a lot of people that have had enlightenment experiences. And when they have that enlightenment experience or that near death experience that creates that enlightenment moment, and you have that profound sense of connection, sometimes we can go into the ego and into the arrogance and then project what we just experienced onto others. And now we're essentially telling everybody, oh, well, I just had this experience of oneness. It was incredible. You really should have that experience too, because it would make you way nicer, more in integrity. But
Yeah.
for you, with your experience, you are maintaining a humility. And I just wonder if that experience of going through those dark loops
Oh,
prior
that.
prior to your near death and then living in those dark loops gave you this profound humility with this state of oneness. And that is so beautiful and rare.
Oh no, listen, I'll tell you, I don't know. I think it was perfect for me, you know. Every experience, whether it's enlightenment, out of body, near death, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. That's not through meditation, through breath work, this experience is going to be perfect and unique for each person and different. Um, I and from working with my guides and even other coaches, I see that I tend to learn a little bit more from a couple slaps across the face, kind of like the harder type of like, let me push you to the end of the pool, good luck, swim kind
Uh-huh.
of kind of approach. And I feel like, they know my soul and my higher self knows me, and I needed that, like, and it was. Yes, I agree. Extremely humble. Like I would never be able to get, even with my patients. That's why the zebra method is a little bit different. It's not to make it a sales point in the podcast. I
No, but it's good for
don't
people
care about
to know
that.
what it is.
But the only thing I do is to guide you to go within. All the information you receive is through your own channel. I don't sit here and channel anything for you at all. Nothing. You
Beautiful.
see it, you hear it, you get that information. You tell yourself how you're going to resolve whatever you need to break through. I am just a mediator reminding you or guiding you through how to
How to
access
get
that.
there. And you hold a really safe space.
Oh my God, absolutely. I would
Yeah.
be terrified because of what happened to me to get somebody, especially if your nervous system is not under
Right.
control.
Right.
I'm familiar with all of that. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, that is my number one thing.
Yeah.
Safety and making sure that you don't go anywhere you're not supposed to go,
Uh-huh.
and protection and all of these things. Like
Beautiful.
that is number one. But it is all inside of you. There's no way I have your $1 million blueprint business. I don't have how you're going to heal yourself. None of it. I don't know anything. It's inside of you. That's
You
it.
have the ability to hold this incredibly safe container, which then connects people to that divine part of them.
That's it.
Hmm.
That's it. Yeah. And there's
Wonderful.
so many ways of doing it. And we play with each session. oh, let's try that. And sometimes their inner child will come forward. And it's so funny because I learn and I heal. The patients, teach me. So I'm learning from their soul that has all this information from their guides. And I'm like, oh, that is such a great tip. Let me write that. I should do that too.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
yes. And even their inner child will come up and that's happened to me a lot. Will come up and say, "No, you know what? That's not how you should do it. I want you to do it like this. Here, let me take you." The inner child will take her and I'm like, oh, "What? That is so great." Like, how cool is that? Like, and it's all very humbling because I don't know what is right for you. I don't have the answers. I really don't.
Everyone has their own unique way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's
you
not
don't even
like,
need to do any session with me, honestly. You already have it.
although when people are entrenched in their energy, right, like entrenched in a particular pattern or a belief system, from my perspective, when we're working with somebody, we have done our own inner work as practitioners. And so we have a different framework. It's like, oh, I went up the mountain and I went this way, but you're going to go up the mountain your own way. And just having the comfort of, so you've done this. Yeah. And you can do it too. And I
Yeah.
think that the greatest challenge in our life is that we aren't encouraged. We are controlled, but not encouraged. And
That's
so
what,
that's a little bit of a challenge to create a different paradigm.
yeah,
Hmm.
100%. I agree. I still do a lot of the work as to okay, just bringing awareness to this limitations I place upon myself. Like one of the things that I personally have, and I always talk about just my own personal um experiences and limitations and limiting beliefs and all these things because I feel like that's how we learn best from each other. Um, or I talk to my patients about all the stuff I'm going through. Like we're friends. We don't even like that's not we're way past that. So I'm like, I've been struggling a lot with perfectionism, like wanting to do things. So like integration, for example. I've had experience working with plant medicine since 2018 and my experience and all my inner work. And technically I have Life University certified, which that's the best to me certificate anyone can have. Um, but yet there's the other side of me, that analytical side of me that's like, no, get certified as an integration coach, for example, psychedelic integration coach. And I am doing it anyway. But just because I feel, well, there's a lot I don't know, that, these people that have been working with psychedelics for 25 years, there's a lot I could learn from that and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And maybe I can translate that into what I already do and help and stuff. Um, but in reality, I'm so harsh still with this analytical type of stuff. So what I did was I'm like, okay, there's got to be a balance. I rented a studio to do art and I'm going to go full into that and we'll see how that translates into the other stuff.
That's amazing.
Because I'm like, no, you can't always be here in the analytical, logical. You play with that other energy and maybe something new will be birthed out of that.
Absolutely. And the art again allows for that integration and insights. Um, and I think that um, a lot of the times when people want to open up to receive information from their divine self or from their guides or their advisors or even their spiritual family on the other side, when we engage in the art, we actually tap into a conscious multidimensional experience, which then opens up these windows, doorways for receiving information from different perspectives. So it will be interesting to see what
It-
happens as you
yeah.
dive into the multidimensional art studio.
Thank you so much for first I reflecting that back to me. Because what I tell my wife is like, when I paint is when I feel the closest to God, and I can't explain it. I tell her she's a music, like she plays the piano and all these instruments and stuff like that. I said, well, I can't do that, but when I paint, I feel the closest to God. And I tell her, well, I imagine it's the same when you play the piano for you. Like, or when you find that flow, whatever it is for you. And I said, I can't explain to you the peace, the bliss. Like I tell her, that's the closest connection to that other experience I had. Like I just feel like so much love and peace and just like everything quiets and yeah, it's weird. But now that
Yeah.
you say it, I'm like, yes, that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Taps you in. That's so great. Well, it's been such an incredible joy having you on the show. And will you just tell our listeners a little bit about how they can find you and explore more of what you offer?
Absolutely. You guys can go to Instagram, Quantum Alchemist Master, and there's actually a free 3 meditation series you can download as a free gift. Thank you so much. If you're interested, you can find me there.
Wonderful. And we will share the link. And again, such a joy connecting with you. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this wonderful conversation. Many blessings.
Thank you, Leah.
Oh.
Blessings to you.